All right, all right. We are back at the Grit Won't Quit podcast today. We have a very special guest. We have the ultimate networker. I'll say that again, the ultimate networker. We have George. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing really good, Tom. It's great to be on your podcast, and I'm looking forward to having a great chat with you.
Excellent. Me too. You know, when I saw your information come up a few months ago and said ultimate networker, I was like, I'm interested in this conversation because a lot of guys in business, especially small businesses, always need more work, always need more referrals. And, you know, I think that you're definitely going to be able to share some insight through your career, through what you've done, and being called the ultimate networker. So let's get right into it. When did you get the name? When did you get the nickname?
Well, people just have always just said, "Oh my God, you're such a great networker, or you're the networking king, or you're this or that." And I said, "Well, let's just give it one name, call it the ultimate networker." So that's what stuck.
And you've
And
been in business for
in
over
fact, this
40
is funny,
years,
Tom.
right?
Well, you know, today's world, everybody's got to be a brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're no longer George or Tom. You got to be some kind of a brand. So everywhere I go now, when I walk in the room, everybody goes, "Oh, there's the ultimate networker." So I branded myself pretty good.
That's perfect. When I walk into a room, people say to me, "Oh, there's Wingman," because the name of my company's Wingman. So
Okay, see?
I love it. And you know, it's funny. There's people that save me in their phone as Wingman, and there's people that just refer to me as Wingman and don't know my first name. So you know, I totally understand that, and it's good because it means you've branded your name to what you do.
Yeah, well, just out of curiosity, what does the wingman stand for? Why did you get that name?
Why did I come up with Wingman? Because I wanted to help small businesses. So when I decided that I was going to start doing marketing for small businesses, I said, "What's a great name for that?" And you know, I came up with Wingman because I have their back.
Okay, cool.
And 15 years later, it's still there. So that's what's going on. So let's get right into it. So you've been doing this for over 40 years. You've been in business.
Yeah, right. I started out as an engineer at General Motors, and then I used to do corporate networking. I'm going to events and getting on golf leagues and then networking. I eventually made it as an executive at General Motors. And of course, when you're in the higher echelon of a company, it's all about networking. That's how you get promotions and so forth. It's all about who you know and who likes you and so forth. And that's kind of the way it is, and as we see it today in politics, right? In politics, it's like who you know and who likes you, not about how
Sure.
good you are, how competent you are. It's just a matter of a network. In other words, that's the highest form of networking is being the politics and getting deals done, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
So,
so anyway, that's why I tell people, look, you got to learn the art of networking as one of the most important things in your life because you can network to find anything you want. I always tell people you can find more business, you can find funding, you can find resources, you can get advice, you can find employees, you can find a date, you can even find a mate, which I did. I met my wife 45 years ago using my social network.
wow.
So, yeah, the idea is that you have to continuously make a database. Like I've got 8,000 legitimate email addresses in South Florida, all kinds of business categories. Every time I get an email, I save the email addresses. I have a bot that collects even people that send me spam. I collect
Yep.
their email addresses. So I get everybody's email address and I promote events. I promote my own events. I promote other people's events and I build a database. And then there's also family networking. People don't realize there's an art to building a family network of your close relatives and even your kids and grandkids. So I teach people how to do that. Social networks, family networks, business networks, because that's what it is. It's all today about having support, having help, having mentors, having other people involved in your life.
Sure.
But for some reason, our society is going the other direction where people, even with social media, they're on the phones, they're on their computers, on their laptops, but they're not connecting personally, which is kind of sad.
Yeah. It is different. It's a different world. I think that, you know, a lot of people are, you know, go to the social networks first instead of talking, doing it in person.
Well, yeah, I mean, the big thing today is there's, what is it, over 1.7 million podcasts, Zoom calls. I'm on 4, 5, 6 Zoom calls a week in the old days, we used to have meetings. Now you do Zoom calls because it's faster, quicker, and easier, and you can go all over the world. The point is, though, the difference from talking to somebody over a Zoom call versus meeting them in person is totally different. You get a certain energy and feeling when you meet somebody in person. Like you and I are talking over here, and I might get to know you, but I don't have any sensory feeling about you, and vice versa. We're just two faces on a
screen. Yep,
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. I would prefer an in-person meeting any day of the week. I know you're in South Florida, so this was a hard one to do in person, but I am 100% in agreement with you on that.
Yeah, even I don't know if you do your podcast in the studio, but even myself, I prefer when I go to a studio to do a podcast because you're actually with people, you're with the camera people.
Yep.
You got more energy. It's more, I don't know. It's just different. Yeah.
I agree with you. So now, after your corporate career, how did you start doing your own networking events and start meeting more and more people?
Well, back after I left the corporate world, my wife and I started the largest singles network in South Florida. It was called the Find a Mate Singles Network from 1985 to 1992. This is before online dating and the internet. We did computer matchmaking, and we used to teach people how to do their, we call it referral matchmaking, how to use their social network to meet a date or a mate.
Okay.
And the way I met my wife, everybody loves this story, but back in 1979, I used to have a three-piece white suit, black shirt, gold chains. I had a Smokey and the Bandit Firebird, and I did the, the John Travolta thing. Man, I was a great disco dancer. So I had plenty of dates. I was dating a lot of women at the time, but I never could seem to find the one that I really wanted to spend my life with, so to speak. So I said, you know what, what's the best way to go about this? So I invented referral matchmaking. I made a list, I call it the love list, of everything I wanted in the opposite sex. Physical characteristics, personality traits, deal makers, deal breakers, experience, background. And I gave it to my 10 best male friends who were meeting women all the time besides what I was doing. And so 3 months later, my best friend calls me up and he goes, you got to meet this gal. He met my now wife at a party. And he introduced us, and 45 years later, I mean, he hit the nail on the head because he was looking out for me.
He was
and
your
he
wingman.
found a girl that I may never have met.
Yep.
So that's what I teach people. I said, make a list, give it to all your friends and family. And also, I teach the wingman concept to all the single gals and guys. Find 3 or 4 good friends and sit down one night, and all of you make a list and give it to each other. And then also when you go out to different singles events or parties or whatever, take a friend with you. And when you find somebody that is attractive, have your friend go over and make the introduction.
Uh-huh.
And it works. It's fantastic. A wingman is the best thing to have as a single person going to a singles event.
Awesome. I think that most people think that having a wingman for their business is good too. So it's a win-win.
Well, yeah, same thing as when you go to a business networking thing. If you got somebody in the crowd that's milling around, and if they run into somebody that would be great for your business or service, they bring them over and introduce you guys.
So after that, so 1992, you stopped the singles network, and then what did you do after that?
Well, what happened was my wife got pregnant, and being in the singles world, you had to do a lot of late night parties and events and stuff like that.
Sure.
So we sold that business and we got involved in the high tech. And actually, right now, I retired from my business about 2010, became an entrepreneur, but my wife and partner still run the business. We have the second largest podcasting streaming platform in the United States. It's called Cirrus Streaming. And the website is CIR.st. And anybody that has a podcast or has a radio station that they would like to stream over the internet, they can go to CIR.st and use our streaming platform.
Very cool.
And then on top of that, I wrote 6 books since that point in time. I'm a public speaker. I'm a coach. I'm an entrepreneur. I help people get funding. I'm a resource for a lot of people in my database. They call me up for everything under the sun, looking for lawyers, looking for doctors, looking for business clients. So
when
I'm
people
like
say, I got a guy, they're talking about you.
Right. That's it.
And so now, and what do you think? Give some tips on being in this referral networking game for 40 plus years. give people some tips on, like, how to get into it, and how to go to, let's focus more on the business side of the house, but go into business networking events. What are some of the tips that you think are important so that people don't just waste time there, or they know how to meet and greet? Because you don't just walk up to someone and go, hey, I do this, and and expect everybody just to buy your services, because that's
Right,
not the way
yeah.
networking works.
Well, the whole thing, it boils down to probably over 95% of people that go to parties and networking events don't know how to do it properly. They basically go there, and I think the way most people look at, and like I went to this huge party last night at a country club. Must have been, I don't know, 400 or 500 people there, food, drinks, DJs, and so forth.
Nice.
And when I looked around the whole crowd, I mean, I say this all the time, over 95% of people don't utilize their time effectively. They go there hoping, I always call it like wishful thinking, that they're going to meet somebody or connect with somebody.
Sure.
Well, when you go to a networking event or a party, I mean, it's okay to go there just to drink and have fun. If that's your objective, great. But most people are going there to make a connection. So I tell people, look, when you go to a networking event, you're going to work. You're not getting away from work
Yeah.
to casually have a good time, because I think that's what people look at. They're going to have drinks and talk to their friends. Don't talk to your friends. Get a wingman. And if you don't have a wingman, what you want to do is the first thing when you walk into an event, go to the promoters or the host. Introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm George Dubec. I'm the Ultimate Networker, and I'm looking for people that would be interested in maybe being coached in networking and so forth. Do you have anybody here that's in sales that would possibly be able to use my training? So you ask the host, let's say you're selling solar energy. Ask your host if there's some people around that they're in real estate that might be able to help you get referrals for homes. But go to the host and see who they can introduce you to right off the get-go.
Sure.
Then, if you don't have a wingman, you go out there, and here's what I do, Tom. When I go to an event, I bring this weird-looking box, okay?
You bring that into the event?
I carry it. I took it last night. I carry it with me,
Uh-huh.
and it's a transparent, weird-looking box. And what do you think happens when I walk in the room with that? Everybody comes over to me. What's
people
in the
looking
box?
at that, yeah.
What is that? So now I'm connecting with people. I don't have to go to them. They come to me and ask what it is. So I always tell people the second step, besides looking at the host, is come up with some kind of conversation piece that would attract people to come to you.
Yeah.
Like if you have, there's these old scrolling marquee name tags. Did you ever see those?
No.
Where people wear it? You can buy them online. And they scroll. They have a name. Like it'll have your name or your business scrolling.
Yeah.
And it's red lights. And it's amazing. It's really
I
cool.
love it.
So if you wear one of those, everybody will talk to you. I tell the gals, if you go to an event, wear something that's really like a conversation piece. Like I had one girl had little earrings that were light bulbs that lit up. Well, what do you think? Every guy in the room would go over and talk to her because she had these crazy things.
Yeah, sure.
Or some weird jewelry or something stunning outfit. That really helps people come over and talk to you. When you also make sure you dress for success. Like when I go to networking events right now, most people are more like dressy casual. They don't dress up. I don't remember the last time I saw a guy with a suit and a tie.
They never wear that
I threw
anymore.
all my ties away. I haven't worn a tie in years. I think I forgot to tie one, how to tie one.
Yep.
But so anything that you can do, like if you're a guy, if you like, I was at this Christmas party last night and this guy had this green jacket with Santa Clauses and Christmas trees all over it.
Sure.
Well, everybody come over and was talking to him about his jacket.
Yep.
So anyway, those are just some quick tips.
All right, I like those. So that's definitely a way to stand out. I like that name tag that that you were saying. I got to look that up.
Now here's the third step. Once you make a quality conversation, and this is something that nobody does, and I find very unappealing, is the fact that most people now don't have business cards. Did you ever notice that?
I think that's weird.
Is.
I think that's absolutely strange.
So now people have QR codes or they have digital cards, and you stumble and fumble around, and this is the thing that really irritates me. People give me their QR code to their LinkedIn profile. So when I get home and I go to their LinkedIn profile, they have no phone number and no email address on their LinkedIn profile. And I'm going, why did you give me this? I mean,
Yep.
it's so crazy. Well, here's what I do. In fact, this was last night at a Christmas party. Okay, I actually, in my box, I have an old-fashioned clipboard.
Sure.
And here, these are people that I met last night that are important to follow up with. So I write their names, addresses, and email addresses on my clipboard. So when I get home, this is my worksheet.
Sure.
Now, I did collect a couple of business cards from people, but they were not important. I'm not really necessarily going to follow up. But these are the ones. And then what happens, Tom, when they see me writing this information down, or I have them write it down, what is that saying to them intrinsically? Hey, this guy is really interested in me. He really wants to follow up.
Sure.
Then the next thing is that you got to put these people in your database, and within a day, you need to follow up. Either call them or email them or whatever the suggestion was to connect or set up a meeting or whatever, and you got to then follow through. You follow up, you make the second connection after the party or event, and then the third one is you got to actually execute. You got to go to the meeting or send them the email information or whatever. So there you go.
I love
You
it.
meet, you follow up, and then you follow through.
And now, so no, you're when you database these, you're putting them into a CRM system, and then what are you doing? Like you have an email frequency that you like?
It depends on what it is, whether I'm promoting a product, a service, an event. In fact, people pay me to promote their products and services depending on how many email blasts I send out. They usually pay me like $50 to send out one email blast to my list. And then I put all of my list in categories. Like I have single people, I have people that like to go to events, I have people that are looking for funding, founders, I have investors. So I have all these different business categories. I don't necessarily blast everything to the whole list.
That's a good idea. So it's more relevant and more targeted to each list.
Right. Yeah.
And now, being in this game as long as you have, what's your next steps? What do you want to see yourself accomplish next here?
Well, what I'm doing is I'm involved in a couple of reality TV shows. I'm putting one together about dating and relationships on how to use referral matchmaking. It's called the Love List Network. And then I'm involved now with another show called America's Real Deal. It's a business investment TV show, which is kind of like Shark Tank on steroids. So what I do is I help the producers and directors find investors to be on the show and also companies that want to showcase, that want to get funding, very much like the Shark Tank concept. It's called America's Real Deal. If anybody wants to find out more information about it, go to americasrealdeal.com. It's a brand new business investment TV show. You'll love it. It's like I said, it's like Shark Tank on steroids. It's an amazing business concept.
And when has it aired yet?
It's on streaming. It's on Fox News streaming. It's on YouTube, Roku, Hulu, Roku, and so forth. And we're filming our third season this spring. So anybody out there that's an investor that would love to be on TV, become a shark. Those guys that are on the Shark Tank are making a fortune just being on the show, whether they invest in anything or not.
Sure.
They're actual celebrities. So we can make you a celebrity on Shark Tank if you're an investor, or if you're a company looking for funding, definitely connect. And by the way, if anybody wants to connect with me, they can go to theultimatenetworker.com. And if you go to my website, folks, I'll send you a free PDF of my book called Ultimate Networking. So again, it's theultimatenetworker.com. Just fill out the email list and I'll send you PDF copies of my books. How's that?
That sounds great. This was a great conversation. I'm glad that you came on today. I'm glad that you got to tell us a little bit about the Ultimate Networking and how you've done it. And so if you could repeat both websites again for the audience, both the Shark Tank show and your website.
Okay, great. It's americasrealdeal.com, all one word, and then ultimatenetworker.com, again, all one word, and that's how people can get in touch with me. And the last note that I'd like to make to everybody is, in order to become a good salesperson or to become a good networker, you have to train yourself. You can't just read a book. You can't just read a bunch of books. I tell people you're never going to do what I do unless you train yourself to do it. Training is more important than education. If you don't implement education, it's worthless. You can read all the books in the world. It doesn't matter. you have to apply these principles. And it takes, what's the old saying? It takes 21 days to learn a new skill. Well, you gotta push yourself to do this. It's not easy, and it's not necessarily fun. You got to make it a habit. When you go networking, you got to do this like all the time, every time, or you're just wasting your time.
I love it. I appreciate you coming on today, George. I appreciate taking time out of your busy day to do this. I hope that everybody enjoys our conversation, because I think it's a great way to really think about networking and how to advance your business, in doing that.
Okay, and I love your name, Wingman. Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Happy holidays, and I'll talk to you soon, George.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.